Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 3G Podcast. Remember to follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, at Podcast3G, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and be sure to like our videos and comment. So we are here to review the wonderful Stomping Grounds pay-per-view that happened last night in the sold-out Tacoma Dome.
Yeah, the place was packed.
I mean, if you count all the blacked out seats that they had, I guess it was sold out, but it's pretty obvious to me that the place was about half full. What do you guys think?
I heard less than half. I heard there was between 5,000 and 6,000 people there.
That's pathetic for a WWE pay-per-view. That place holds 23,000 people. You would think for a pay-per-view, it should have been definitely at least three-quarters full.
Yeah, close to full for a pay-per-view.
But you could definitely see from the camera angles that they were trying to hide the fact that it wasn't sold out or even near capacity. They did, on a few of the angles where they were filming some of the matches, you could clearly see where there were no people. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, but I noticed throughout the show, I didn't really mind it that much. It seemed like the crowd, for the most part, was audible, and they, for most of the show, were into it. So if you take away the fact that most of the arena was open and there were seats open, I don't think the crowd suffered at all.
Agree. So why don't we dive into the card?
The first match was the triple threat match for the Cruiserweight Championship. It was Drew Gulak versus the then champion Tony Nese versus Akira Tozawa. Just right off the bat, I would say this was my match of the night. How did you guys feel about this match?
Well, again, the Cruiserweights, kind of steal the show before the show.
Yeah, that's what Tony Nese said.
Did he? Oh.
When he was coming out.
I know that when at Money in the Bank, they had the Cruiserweight Championship match during the show, and the fans really weren't reacting real well to it, which is kind of surprising because it was a really good match then. So they put him back to the pre-show. I think the match did get a good reaction from the fans there. It was a great match, some excellent moves. Tony Nese has a sick finisher that got broken up. I don't know what it's called. But I thought it was a great match. I'm not disappointed with the outcome. Drew Gulak, he's been around a while. He's been through a bunch of different gimmicks. And not undeserving of the Cruiserweight Championship.
Yeah, I would say Drew is at his best right now in terms of character. This heel character he's been playing, he's able to showcase his wrestling ability well because it's very hard-hitting and technical. I predicted Tony Nese to win because I think that it was a little too early to take the title off of him. But I noticed that a lot of guys who win the Cruiserweight Championship, Buddy Murphy, Mustafa Ali, now Ali, Cedric Alexander, they all move on to Raw and SmackDown. So I feel like Tony Nese, sooner than later, is going to be up either on Raw or SmackDown. So maybe that's why they took the title off him.
Buddy Murphy moved up?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't know from watching TV, but...
Yeah. So, B, any thoughts on that match? Or
I got the predictions right. You guys doubted me.
Throw that in.
Well, just saying. I didn't do well for the rest of the night, so I got to rub it in your face while I can.
Hold on to what you can, buddy.
Yeah, hold on to your only hope.
I think that this match was the best match of the night. I know I told you guys before it was the New Day versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, but I was joking. These guys definitely deserve to be on the main show, not on the pre-show. Even Seth Rollins said on Twitter that he didn't say it directly, but he basically said that this was the best match of the night.
Yeah, and it's 205 Live, and I don't know I guess that as more viewers watch 205 Live, maybe it'll get more support. But I know the show is getting better. I'll freely admit that I need to start watching it more myself.
205 Live, to me, is the best wrestling in WWE underneath NXT. I think they've been underdogs for a while, and they feel like an underdog show, and I like that about them. It seems like everyone always brings their all.
So striving to overachieve.
Well,
yeah. I mean, you're.
I guess some people look at.
You think they're working harder on that show than they are on the wrestlers? Are working harder on that show than they are on the main shows?
Yeah, you're right. I would say like some people would think as overachieve as like a bad thing, but
no, it's not a bad thing.
No, they work hard to get on the map.
And also, another thing I want to say, I think I saw a thing on Instagram, and I don't believe that the Cruiserweight titles ever changed hands on the actual show, 205 Live. It's changed hands on Raw. It's changed hands on pay-per-view.
That's a good statistic.
They've had some great actual Cruiserweight championship matches on the show, but I think you're right.
Yeah, because if you look at the time with like Neville and all them, there was I think there was a change on Raw, but never on the actual show. So that's something to bring to point. Maybe not have them be on the pay-per-view every single time. Maybe.
Well, maybe do this. Why does the Cruiserweight Championship have to be defended on every pay-per-view? How about just a good Cruiserweight match?
Yeah.
Right?
I've seen a few people say this, that 205 Live, they shouldn't get not a 3-hour event every few months, but maybe here and there they can get a 1-hour takeover-esque type event, special network event. I think that would put them on the map a little more. But the biggest thing for me is the time slot with 205 Live. I liked it when it was on Wednesdays. I know they still recorded it on Tuesdays, but when it was on the network on Wednesdays, I was more apt to watch it myself. And I think the biggest thing they're suffering from is just the time slot. So if they could tweak that, I think they'd be good.
Yeah, and as NXT gets their takeover pay-per-views during, they had a standalone pay-per-view recently, but usually coinciding with a major main roster pay-per-view, what does 205 Live get? The pre-show match for the Cruiserweight title just about every time. So something needs to change there if they really want this Cruiserweight division to get more visibility or more viewership.
Agreed. It was a great match, my match of the night, and we'll move on to the actual show.
Do it.
Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans opened the show for the Raw Women's Championship. I thought this match was better than their previous match at Money in the Bank, and I'm not fully sold on Lacey Evans yet. I think she still has a little work to do in the ring. I like her character. I agree that it wasn't her time to win the title yet, but I think she will win the title eventually.
Now, on our last podcast of predictions, you did call this the bathroom break match. Would you still agree with that?
No, I take that back.
Calling you out.
Yeah, now realizing how the matches went.
I want to hear what your bathroom break match is when we get to it.
Okay, so there was one. It wasn't this one.
All right. So this match was decent, I thought. I think Evans is a decent competitor. But what I think, maybe people overlook is I think Becky Lynch is improving her in-ring ability a little bit. She's adding some moves. So I think between the two of them, they put on a pretty good match. It's a pretty good rivalry, which extended later in the show. So I think it's going to go on for a little bit more. I think Lacey Evans will then be like maybe dropped out of the title scene for a little bit, but at some point back into it, because I can see a definite championship in her future. I think there was a quick push with her, and I still don't know why. Was it because they were lacking talent on the show? People out with injuries, what have you? Maybe that's why. But I do think she'll kind of get recycled through and get a title push and actually win a title at some point. Probably within the next year or so.
I agree. Anything else to add, B?
No. Well, actually, yeah. I think that Becky Lynch will hold the title for a long time, probably until she dies out. She still hasn't died out with the crowd at all. Since WrestleMania, I don't really think she has.
I think she's. I don't know. I'm not sure if I can 100% agree with that. She's still very popular, but if you look at, remember when they invaded and Nia Jax, and they invaded Raw and Nia Jax punched her. That's when she was at her peak.
Well, yeah, but if you look at WrestleMania till now, I don't think
even leading into WrestleMania, it seemed like she was dwindling a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit.
So here's my take on that. She definitely peaked when she got the bloody face from Nia Jax. Shortly after that, she peaked.
That's when the whole man gimmick started.
Right,
so.
But I think from WrestleMania through now, she kind of, if you put up a chart, she would have peaked and then come down a little bit and leveled off from there. I don't think she's dropped, since WrestleMania. I think she's kind of leveled off from a high to a little bit lower of popularity, and she's kind of just stayed level, but she's still,
massively popular.
She's the most popular, woman on the roster.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
can any of you guys pinpoint? I can, but can you guys pinpoint why she might have leveled off a little bit? I have an idea, but
she hasn't really faced anybody else for the title besides.
Well, that's my point. Is Ronda Rousey's not there anymore? She every good. If you look at, just for an example, Steve Austin and Vince McMahon, Ronda Rousey was the Vince McMahon to Becky Lynch, in my opinion. Like, she needs someone like that for the feud.
Well, I think it was maybe three people. Her, Charlotte as well.
Yeah, but Charlotte was only in there because of the
But
agenda.
you're right. Like I said, so back to my point with Lacey Evans getting a push because there's no one else to be pushed right now.
So, are you comparing Becky Lynch to Stone Cold Steve Austin, or are you just making a...
It's just an example of
Okay.
of a character like that having somebody to play off of every week.
A good, just like a movie, a good superhero needs a great villain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, last thing about this. I think that if they wanted to call up Shayna Baszler and put her in that spot against Becky, I think that would really be an interesting feud and a good spot for both of them.
I don't think she's ready to be called up yet.
I do.
She's had that title for so long. I think what else
She's ready for
else
the
can
main
she
roster.
do? Just an
Has
idea.
she broke Asuka's reign with the title?
No, because she had an interruption. Kairi Sane won it, but that's beside the point. That's just I've seen a lot of people say that too, and I agree with it. But decent match. The next match was Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn against the New Day, Big E, and Xavier Woods.
This is, for me, the sleeper match of the night. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I wasn't really looking forward to this match. When I watched it, it started off very hot. I know, Jimmy, you weren't in the room for when it started.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn took out Big E, and then they just assaulted Xavier Woods. But they gave him like 3 super kicks, a Blue Thunder Bomb. He kicked out of all of it, but it started off very well, and it didn't slow down at all, I don't think. The whole match was pretty exciting, and the right people in Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn won.
Thought it was a good match, and it was one I predicted correctly, and I know I predicted the first match correctly as well. So I'll throw that in your face, B. But
we
you
we
started
all did.
anyway. But
Wait, you said I picked you. Are you saying I picked Lacey Evans?
no, I'm saying that I think you picked the New Day in this match.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
But you just got to go off of past experiences with WWE, so you can't really get too upset about me picking the New Day because
I'm actually happy you picked them because you
You're
lost.
falling behind, buddy.
Yeah, but with that, it was a really good match, entertaining. I'm sick of the New Day. I can't help it, but it was an entertaining match. I am happy that Sammy and Kevin won. I do not think they need to be a tag team right now, though, so I hope they're not going to continue them as a tag team because there's a lack of tag teams, but we will see what happens.
Yeah, there's not much to say about this. I don't know where they're going to go from here with Owens and Zayn. Hopefully, like you said, they put him in a better role.
Both great
Yeah.
characters, on their own.
Yep. After this, we had the United States Championship match, Ricochet against Samoa Joe, who was the champion. Ricochet won the title. This was probably my second favorite match of the night. I think the dynamic of Samoa Joe and Ricochet was great together. Samoa Joe looked pretty dominant the whole match, and Ricochet made him look dominant with his selling. And I'm glad, even though I didn't pick Ricochet, I'm glad it seems like they're really investing in Ricochet. Like, there was a few weird losses he had on the main roster, but ever since he's been called up, you got to give WWE a little credit for doing right by him so far. I don't know, that's just my opinion.
yeah, you can't forget about his slip either.
Oh yeah,
during
he
his
had
entrance.
a little botch when he made his entrance, and he joked about it on Twitter. But I think for in terms of we give them crap a lot for calling up NXT guys and then kind of forgetting about them. But I don't know. I think Ricochet's been treated pretty well so far, and this just further proves that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And Jimmy, you said something last night that you had an idea that they would push Aleister Black to the IC title.
Well, let me just comment on this match first, and this was my match of the night for me on the main card easily. Ricochet is, he's a star. He is, in the ring. He's very good in the ring. I know he still needs to work on his promo skills a little bit, right? He's not the best.
They've improved though.
They've improved. He's not the best on the mic. I think the fans genuinely like him. I like him.
Yeah, he's likable.
He's a likable guy. He seems like sometimes you could just look at a person and go like, hey, that guy seems like he's probably a really good guy in real life, and he's one of those guys. Someone you could probably, you'd have a hard time ever seeing turning to heel. Great match. Samoa Joe continues to amaze me for what he can do for a guy his size, right? He basically, him and Ricochet went kind of toe-to-toe the entire match. I think I predicted Ricochet to win this match as well, so I'll chalk up another one for me. But I'm not sure this. I think we may see another match with them because to me it was that good of a match you don't just drop it there. Then maybe let's see what happens on Raw.
Well, we have AJ Styles versus Ricochet on Raw.
Well, maybe Joe interferes somehow.
Yeah, I was just thinking
you never know.
Yeah.
My question was going to be, where do they go with Joe from here? But
Yeah.
I think maybe even after Baron Corbin fizzles out, Universal title push with
Fizzles
Samoa
out?
Joe. Well, once he's done with that feud with Rollins.
No,
they
I
could,
know.
if they wanted to, they could get behind Joe, but I think they'll keep him around the U.S. title for now.
But back to your point, you asked me a question about Finn Balor and Aleister Black.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Aleister Black, he's going to get a push quick, and I think it's for the Intercontinental title. I can see that happening. I could kind of see it a mile away at this point. Let's just get him in the ring this week, though. I mean, let's start with him. Let's get him in a rivalry. Let's get him in a feud. Maybe it's Finn Balor, and they start a feud. But
He could be the first one to beat the Demon.
I think we need. That would be awesome. I think we need to stop the closet picking fight segments. That just needs to happen.
It's overstayed its welcome. Even the first week of it was not needed, but at this point, he needs to wrestle.
Because just like I said, that Ricochet is a star. Aleister Black is that much more of a star than Ricochet because he's got everything.
Mm-hmm. And also, just to make a point, you look at any NXT guy. No NXT guys get booed because the crowd is sick of them. They get booed for the character, like Daniel Bryan. It's not like, oh, just go away at this point, because every NXT guy is respected, and that is how Triple H makes it, because the amazing performances they put on in NXT.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with NXT. Triple H basically wraps them up with a bow and a ribbon and delivers them to the main roster, and it's at that point it's
out of his hands, I guess.
Yeah, so it's up to the main roster with what they do with them. But I'm glad Ricochet won. He deserves it, and hopefully on Raw, him and AJ put on a great match. We'll see.
Hopefully, hopefully that can be main event. That is a main event caliber match.
Maybe it's the beginning of a new Bullet Club. We'll see. We saw the makings of it last night.
Yeah, I like that they're teasing that.
I love it.
And I'd love to see like a full-on heel turn.
When's the last time we said we love it when it comes to something that they're doing in the WWE?
Bray Wyatt.
From a creative perspective. Yeah.
I mean, Bray Wyatt, but...
All right. Good.
Daniel Bryan and Rowan, the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, defended against Heavy Machinery.
Now, this was also a great match. I honestly actually forgot about this match, but I think it was the second best match of the night.
It was up there in terms of how great of a match it was. The crowd was hot and so behind Daniel Bryan because they were in Daniel Bryan's home state, was it?
And I like for once that the commentators actually acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Usually with a heel that gets cheered, commentators kind of just ignore it, try to forget about it, but I like that they acknowledge that this time.
Yeah, Heavy Machinery was very impressive in this match.
They proved themselves.
For example, Tucker, he's a big guy. He did a moonsault off the top rope, and even though Heavy Machinery are both pretty big guys and strong guys, they can both wrestle. They're agile. They didn't win the titles here, but they definitely, in my opinion, will win the titles at some point. I like Daniel Bryan and Rowan as the champions because, like we said on the prediction show, they can easily build a division around those two guys. And also Rowan, we got to give him credit. He's been coming into his own. He doesn't use the same two moves, like the spinning heel kick.
I don't think he even used it last night.
Yeah, we were looking for the spinning heel kick.
He's
from
moved
Rowan.
on.
So that was the first thing I was going to say, Josh, was that Rowan has greatly improved. So I don't know who he's training with, but he's definitely gotten a lot better. I felt bad for Heavy Machinery because the crowd was totally behind Bryan and Rowan, the true heels in the match.
That was very much expected.
Sure. But Heavy Machinery did put on a great performance. They proved themselves as a championship quality team. I know they do some silly stuff, but you know what? You kind of need some silly stuff sometime, as long as you could complement it with great wrestling skills.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
And also, now that you mentioned Rowan, you look at a lot of bigger guys coming up from NXT and debuting. A lot of them are very agile, and they're Braun Strowman is really the only person that's and he's still pretty agile in the ring. It's not really just big powerhouse moves anymore.
Yeah, well, I think that's because of how wrestling itself has changed over the years. Fans aren't interested in the big monster anymore, and wrestlers know that and try to change with that. So this was, maybe my third favorite match, maybe. Great match, and I gotta say, up until all these matches so far have been pretty damn good, and the whole pay-per-view to this point has been a very good pay-per-view. And then I don't know if I could say the same about the next match, which was the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley defending against Alexa Bliss with Nikki Cross in her corner.
The thing about this match is it wasn't a terrible match, but it was way too predictable. You knew something like that was going to happen.
Well, the element of Nikki Cross was always there. We all knew that. I think we're all waiting for some type of heel turn, whether it be from Nikki or Alexa Bliss.
I think it's going to be from Nikki Cross. She's not the best as a face. It's better as a heel who the crowd likes. Like, you know, acts like a heel, but the crowd likes. Like in NXT, she was with Sanity.
Yeah, Bayley won. I didn't think Bayley was going to lose because she just cashed in, and there was a big moment with the cash in. The match was okay. It wasn't bad, but it was definitely a come down from the other few matches before it. Your thoughts, Jimmy?
Well, the ending sequence of the match was kind of weird, the way with that weird interference from Nikki Cross. It really didn't impact the end of the match so much in my mind. I think the chemistry between Alexa Bliss and Bayley was pretty flat. They don't complement each other very well with their styles. It was a slower paced match, I think, which was different from previous matches. Not an awful match, but again, it was a kind of a come down match. Not my favorite match of the night. Kind of very predictable outcome. So you kind of watched it and were like, oh yeah, I'm not surprised. So we'll see where this is going. Again, I truly didn't think Alexa Bliss was being pushed for the SmackDown Women's title. So what does that say about the women's title picture on SmackDown? Who's in line now? You know, Alexa Bliss came over from Raw to challenge her for that title. So we'll see where this goes from here. And we'll see where the whole Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss thing goes, probably on Raw.
Now, considering that, in my opinion, this was the best built match of the pay-per-view, it could have been a lot better. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, this build was pretty intriguing. Like I said, I don't know what episode of the podcast I said it on, but the talking... Is it talking? I can never remember the name of Alexa Bliss's talk show. A Moment of Bliss, yeah.
Come on.
What is it? Is there a talking something show? Talking.
There was talking Smack.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's not even around anymore.
You got to get that.
I'm getting all my superstar shows messed up, but on A Moment of Bliss, the build to this match was pretty interesting, and with both women getting fired up. So yeah, I agree.
I believe you said that on the prediction show.
Yeah, the prediction show. So I agree. This could have been a better match.
It fell flat for the build-up. So.
The next match was Roman Reigns against Drew McIntyre with Shane McMahon in his corner. I'll let one of you guys talk about this first.
I'll go first if you want
Well,
me to.
you've been going first, so I'm going to go first.
Let Jimmy go first.
Drew McIntyre, with the help of Shane McMahon, could not beat Roman Reigns. So that doesn't say very much for what they have as far as stock for Drew McIntyre. I mean, if you're going to have Shane McMahon interfering in the match, then you should probably win somehow. So I feel for Drew McIntyre, the fact that how many times has he lost to Roman Reigns now? Right? So is he ever going to beat Roman Reigns or be in a feud by himself that he wins? So I just don't know what they're doing with Drew McIntyre. Very predictable with Roman Reigns, right? He wins matches, he wins big matches. Apparently there's going to be a 2-on-1 handicap match on Raw. We'll see what happens there. I wasn't overly impressed with the match itself. It was another very predictable match for me. I predicted McIntyre because I wanted McIntyre to win, but I wasn't surprised when Reigns won because that's what happens.
Yeah, so you guys asked about the bathroom break match for me. This would have been it.
There it is.
Really?
Yep.
I thought this match was better than expected, in my opinion.
This was better than their previous matches, but it's just, even though it was better than those matches between them, it just didn't do it for me. There was nothing overly exciting that happened in this match, and not only, I think Drew McIntyre should be in a much better position, and I think, honestly, Roman Reigns could be in a better position. I think Roman Reigns, even though people hate to see him pushed all the time, he's still talented, and if he was given a more interesting feud, he would be able to showcase himself a little more.
But let's face it, it's coming.
The WWE Championship run?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wish this whole Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre being guys like bodyguard or lackey would end. there's better roles for all of these guys, and I can't believe they're doing another variation of this match on Raw. And I just hope it's over soon.
Well, apparently it's not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're continuing on Raw, so they're going to.
This will definitely bleed
They're going
into
to
SummerSlam.
extend this into Extreme Rules, at least.
Any more thoughts, B?
So I definitely think that, like, well, what I said so far is right about Reigns winning and then everything happening at SummerSlam and Extreme Rules. The match was okay. I don't think it was the worst match of the night. We'll get to that in a few matches. But it was okay. There were some points in the match that I didn't really know.
Was it predictable?
No.
No.
There were some points in the match that I didn't really know who was going to win.
When the match ended, were you surprised?
No, but if Drew McIntyre won, I wouldn't be surprised either. It's just how it played out.
Well, here's the thing.
I was a little surprised that Shane interfered and Drew lost with that.
That's what I was going to say just
Well, that
now.
bothered me.
Shane won against Roman Reigns. Drew McIntyre did help him a little bit, but Shane still beat Roman Reigns. The same thing happened here. Shane tried to help Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre didn't beat Roman Reigns. So what does that tell you about how they feel about Drew McIntyre?
Don't forget about the referee tweaking his knee, too.
Yeah,
He looked like
Shane-
he was in some he looked like he was in a lot of pain.
Let's just see what happens. I'm anxious to see what happens with McIntyre next because, I think if they keep going in this direction with him, you're looking at the 3MB getting back together again.
They already teased it with him and Heath
I
Slater on
know.
the last Raw. So
I know.
And so you look at him coming back, winning the NXT title, being pretty dominant in NXT,
Very dominant.
goes to the main roster, wins the tag titles with Dolph Ziggler, and that was it.
I liked that pairing of him and Dolph Ziggler.
It was good.
Especially with Braun Strowman
But
as
again,
as
it's
heels.
not. He hasn't been on his own, and he needs to be on his own. He's, this with somebody is not the Drew McIntyre that we should be seeing. I'm sorry.
Besides, when Roman Reigns came back, he was never really on his own. So that's it.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's missing. They need to give him a solo run.
Solo run.
After this, the steel cage match for the WWE Championship. Kofi Kingston, the champion, against Dolph Ziggler. This match was better than the match at... I can't remember the name of the thing. It was so bad.
Super Slowdown.
Super Showdown, yeah. This was better than that match. I don't think this was I wouldn't say this was a great match. It was an above... For a steel cage match, it was not an above average match. It was just an average steel cage match to me.
I think that for a steel cage match, the factor of escaping the cage definitely made the match a lot more intense. If there wasn't really that factor, this match would have been maybe the worst match of the night. I just think the factor of the cage definitely made it pretty decent.
Yeah, I just don't... Dolph Ziggler is not a believable contender for the WWE title right now. It seems like to me he's kind of phoning it in with his performances lately. Like he talks all the talk and then he doesn't bring the intensity in the ring, in my opinion.
Well, I think that last night he backed up some of the things he said. It was an okay performance, but
Based on all the talking he's been doing, I disagree. He could have came out more intense.
So as steel cage matches go, this wasn't a great steel cage match, number one. Number two, it's the second pay-per-view in a row where they had a steel cage match, so I think they're having too many steel cage matches consecutively.
wait.
Shane McMahon and The Miz.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yep, so that was at... You were sitting in the arena, my friend.
Well,
watching
yeah,
it.
but I was thinking about Super Showdown.
No, I don't count that one. Anyway, because last night was almost a replay of... And so... The outcome of the match wasn't a surprise. They teased a few times Ziggler escaping, and I never once thought that Kingston was going to lose the title during this match. One thing I didn't like was Kofi Kingston coming out with pancakes sitting behind the WWE Championship. That was kind of, I don't know.
He should be a little more serious.
It's the WWE Championship, man.
He's walking towards a steel cage.
Right.
He should be a little more like...
Maybe
Yeah.
people thought that was funny, but
It's disrespectful to the title.
I think so.
You look at how
I have great respect for Kofi Kingston. He has got a great career.
definitely a future Hall of Famer.
Absolutely. But, I don't know, I just thought it was kind of silly.
And also, you look at how he was in Elimination Chamber, how intense he was. Then you look at him walking to the steel cage. It was like he was going into like a bouncy house.
Obviously, he's not taking Ziggler seriously, and he still beat him. So what does that say?
And you
for
know what?
Ziggler?
I wouldn't take him seriously either if I was him.
So what's next for Dolph Ziggler after that?
Well, I don't want to make
Is he
myself.
going to be chasing the 24/7 title?
I don't want to make myself sound like an idiot, but
Oh, you're. Never mind. Go ahead.
no. What were you
I was
gonna
say
say?
it's not a stretch. Go.
All right. So I did hear a thing that Dave Meltzer said that.
Didn't they bring up Dave Meltzer yet on another podcast? What do you got? Is Dave Meltzer paying your royalties or something to say his name?
No, I just. Hi, Dave. If you're watching.
Yeah, he's not.
All right, so maybe, or I heard that Extreme Rules, it'll be Kevin Owens versus Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston, and a lot of people have said that Kevin Owens will be like next in line for the title push because they kind of stopped it at Super Showdown because he didn't travel with them, so they had to choose another opponent. So
Yeah, well, I don't know if you know this, but Kevin Owens was supposed to be the guy originally who challenged Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. That's why they were pushing Kevin Owens. If you remember, they were having like the promos of him.
Yeah, but I
with
wonder
his
if
son and
Owens
stuff.
was going to beat him at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's why they
So-
were pushing face Kevin Owens. If you guys remember, he was supposed to be, from what I've heard, supposed to challenge Daniel Bryan.
I for one missed the big O.
And in my opinion, Kevin Owens is great with a world title. Kevin Owens is the best Universal Champion in my opinion.
Kevin Owens is a great
I
talent.
mean-
he can he can play. He's a better heel, but he was a decent face.
I just think his face run didn't last, and the reason they turned him heel was because they didn't have
They
anybody.
had to.
Yeah, so
Josh, you were kind of like hesitant in saying that he was the best Universal Champion. Do you have anybody that's
no,
better?
I was just trying to think about what he did during his
All right, because
reign.
you look at Lesnar, Goldberg, no.
Reigns.
Finn Balor could have been good,
He
but
didn't.
yeah,
he
held
need to hold
it
it for more than a day.
for a day. Roman Reigns was, I mean, it was okay. He overcame Brock Lesnar.
Again, he didn't.
I don't think he's rightfully gotten his.
And the jury's still out on Rollins.
Yeah, I'm so far
So
for
far-
Rollins, it's thumbs down for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
but
me
that's,
too.
And actually, we're going to talk about Seth Rollins up next.
Let's
so
do it.
This was my bathroom break match, guys.
The main event
Yeah.
was your bathroom break.
Yes.
Seth Rollins, the Universal Champion.
Even with the sassy Southern Belle as the special guest referee.
Yep.
Baron Corbin picked Lacey Evans as his referee. and
Which
this
I
was
thought
like,
I thought was okay.
No, because once I heard that, I was like, all right, Becky
They
Lynch is
teased it all
coming out.
night though. How many times did Michael Cole reference them being boyfriend and
Oh,
girlfriend?
let me just say, that is so nauseating to hear all the time, just forced on the fans all the time. Like, we get it.
And
Right? So they're not talking about Andrade and Charlotte being boyfriend and girlfriend because
No.
it doesn't play into any storyline.
And Becky Lynch, she looked very uncomfortable last night, sort of. Like, she doesn't want her relationship to be that public. And I honestly wouldn't want it to be either.
Too late now.
So, yeah, it's too late now. And Michael Cole could have done a better job of, like, not talking about it all night.
Well, I don't think that was Michael Cole's doing. I think the
Well, yeah.
backstage.
Yeah.
So
Or-
the
yeah.
main event of the pay-per-view shouldn't have been a joke, and it was. That's my opinion. Lacey Evans didn't count right. She changed the match stipulation every time Baron Corbin broke the rules, so they're making a mockery out of Corbin as well. I don't know. This wasn't a good main event. To me, it was. I don't know. It was a bathroom break. It wasn't. To me, the main event with two guys like that shouldn't be a joke, and it was.
And may I mention that in some instances where Lacey Evans would refuse to count or, like, have her hurt shoulder, Baron Corbin was, like, getting pinned for moves that, like...
Yeah, like Seth Rollins hit a Falcon's Arrow, and it was like an 8 count.
Yeah,
Didn't
but
Seth Rollins, like, slammed him onto a chair?
at the
and
same time, Corbin knows that she's not counting, so
Right.
whatever.
He
right?
went-
He's taking a rest.
He
Yeah.
went through the announce table. She was basically at, like, 20 at that point. And he didn't move. Like, all he did was get powerbombed. I've seen people get up from the announce table.
So again, this feud should end, but I don't think it's going to now. I think we're going to get into some mixed tag team nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
My prediction is that at Extreme Rules, they're going to do a winner-takes-all match.
Is it your
between-
prediction or you heard it somewhere?
Well, I heard
Dave
it.
Meltzer tell you this?
Yeah, you go. When you,
I heard it
When you had
some-
lunch with Dave today, did he say, "Hey, this is what I think is going to happen"?
All right, let's look. If you want to talk about Dave Meltzer, go to the Young Bucks. The finisher's named after him. So
I thought, weirdly enough, this was the one match from Super Showdown that their Super Showdown match was actually better than this.
and
was-
again, the referee factors. It's getting dragged on at this point.
And by the way, the Money in the Bank cash-in did not even play out.
It didn't even get teased
Didn't even
except
get-
for the earlier part.
Yeah, but didn't even come into play at all. At least have like Rollins laid out in the ring and somehow, and maybe all the fans start looking, and it just didn't happen. It was the whole big Becky and Seth celebration, which to me was nauseating. I'm sorry.
No, I definitely agree. We get that they're dating. I don't want their title reigns to be based on that they're dating. It makes the championships look completely useless. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about the main event. I don't want to see... Well, okay, I can say this, that I've said this before. Seth Rollins as Universal Champion is not living up to the hype. It's not living up to what it could be for me.
He had his big moment at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that was a good match at WrestleMania.
He's a great wrestler. He's just not doing it for me as the Universal Champion.
No, I
He's
agree.
way better as a heel.
I think he's,
Definitely.
yeah, I think he's better as a heel.
Like I said, I keep going back to this, but his run with J&J Security, my favorite Seth Rollins.
Yeah, well, it seemed like they were teasing the heel-esque or heel factor of Seth Rollins with the steel chair, but they're not going to turn him heel now that he's with Becky Lynch. There's no way.
Right.
So look, this wasn't a main pay-per-view. It was kind of like, you would call it a lower tier pay-per-view for them. So based on that, I'm putting you on the spot, B. 1 to 10. What do you rank it? 10 being the best pay-per-view could ever be, given, don't compare it to like a Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Stomping Grounds versus Extreme Rules, right? They're lower level pay-per-views leading up to bigger pay-per-views. What do you give it?
I'll give it a 6.5.
Okay.
It started off good, but the last 2 matches kind of just killed it for me. It was just, I don't know, flat.
Josh, same criteria. What do you give it?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 7.
Wow,
I think
7, huh?
Yeah, the show, it started off very good. The first few matches were all very good matches. The Ricochet and Joe match, the Cruiserweight title match, SmackDown Tag Team Championships. So other than the last few matches, which were maybe a little boring or not booked well, for the most part, I wasn't bored during the show. I think it was not too long. I didn't feel like I wanted to get up at all. It was pretty entertaining. They definitely could have made some better decisions and had some better matches lined up. But for what it was, I'll give it a 7.
Oh yeah, and one more thing I would like to mention is they're giving. I noticed that they're giving matches more time. Like one
Well, that's
thing
because
with
It was
The
a
card
small
wasn't-
card,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
good.
I like
which was
that
good.
because if you look at TakeOver, 5 matches, that's perfect. You don't need an event to be 4 hours every time. Have the limit be 10:30 and give wrestlers more time. Because look at the Money in the Bank card. It was so packed, nobody really got time to show their skill.
So I'll give it a 4.5 because I went to bed thinking, or not thinking, wow, I didn't expect that, because it was predictable. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. Not that I'm saying you need a big shock or surprise like Money in the Bank where Brock Lesnar comes out, but you need something different to happen on a pay-per-view for me. The match quality was average to good, but the pay-per-view itself didn't leave me with, oh, that was great, I'm excited. It leads me to believe that we're going to see more of the same on Monday Night Raw tonight and SmackDown or Raw Extension or whatever the show is now on Tuesday. So we'll see. You guys were very generous with your ratings. That's cool. And we'll see what happens. So anything else, guys, on this review?
No, well, yeah, if, maybe I'll put a picture at the end of our points for our predictions. We've started at Royal Rumble. We've almost come, maybe not almost, but almost come full circle. For the next Royal Rumble, Jimmy is in the lead, Josh is in second place, and I am
Close
in last
behind,
place.
by the way.
And just let's make it clear, I've been in the lead since day one, so I've not relinquished my lead.
We both gained on you.
Yeah.
Again,
You were up by a lot after Royal Rumble.
Again, I am in the lead. B, please, after every pay-per-view, post
Right,
the results.
I'll post the picture at
Post
the
the
end.
picture at the end,
So
we can see my domination over you guys. And I'm expecting a year from now, if we're still doing this podcast, which I think we will be, that I will still be dominating you guys.
I don't think so.
So with that, again, be sure to follow us at Podcast3G on Twitter and Instagram. And be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and share with your friends if you like our content. We've seen a few comments from some people out there, which is cool. So we appreciate the comments, whatever feedback you have, whether it's serious, silly, or you want to make fun of us, or, well, don't make fun of us.
Tell us what we're doing wrong.
Tell us what you'd like to hear better. If you disagree with some of our stuff, just any feedback is good.
Leave questions too. We would like to do some Q&A stuff.
And we'll respond to questions on the podcast. So definitely leave some questions, and we'll make a section at the end of our weekly podcast to address your questions. So with that, we will see you again later this week with another podcast.